Much better. Hello Internet, this is Olin from What I'm Listening To, here once again with another episode of Quickies. The first CD I have for you today, this is Silverchair's album, Diorama. Silverchair is one of those 90s post-grunge hard rock bands that were around, and they put out one album that got a lot of attention and they kind of just faded into obscurity. But this one is actually kind of interesting to me because there are some elements of that sort of 90s rock sound that they were doing back in the day, but instead of that post-grunge noise sound they were doing, this is a more kind of poppier art rock approach, which just seemed very fascinating to me. I am kind of a sucker for 90s post-grunge rock bands. Listened to a lot of them growing up, and I don't know, I think this one should be fun. I'm not really expecting it to be that great, all things considered, but I'm just going in, having fun with it, and we'll see how it sounds. Who knows? I could end up buying it for all I know. It's the exciting part about loaning out these CDs. I could end up liking something more than I expected and buying it. But yeah, Silverchair, Diorama. Excited to listen to this. Next up, I have a CD by the Ramones. This is their album Animal Boy, which is a much later release. I think this is a late 80s? Yeah, 86 it says on here. And the reason why I loaned this album out is for one song, which is My Brain is Hanging Upside Down, Bonzo Goes to Bitburg. That just might be my favorite Ramones song. And it's a lot different from some of the other stuff they've done. You know, it's a far cry from the Beat on the Brat and the Blitzkrieg Bop and all those kind of fun go, go, go songs. This one is a more melodramatic, serious sounding song. It was also a song that was used in the School of Rock, which is where I discovered it. And I think I remember it being featured in a couple movie trailers, but it's a fantastic song. And I really wanted to hear the rest of the album. I don't expect all the songs to be melodramatic or serious. They could be. I could be surprised by that, but I'm interested to see what sort of material this band was recording after being around for, I guess at this point, 10 years at the very least. So yeah, it's a later release and should be a fun listen, so looking forward to checking it out. Next up, I have two CDs by Mr. Bungle. So we have, I want to say this is their first album, and this is their third album. Mr. Bungle is one of those 90s bands that is famous, very famous. They were really kind of pushing what rock music was, and I don't know if they've ever achieved the big following that a lot of rock bands out there have. They definitely have a following, a cult following, I guess. And I shamefully have not listened to anything by them, so I had to change that. We don't really see these too often in the store. They've put out a new album, I think last year. We have plenty of copies of that, but we haven't really been getting any of these albums, which are considered classics. So the moment I saw these, I snatched them. Just starting with this one, their first album. I think this is just self-titled here. Yep, Mr. Bungle. Some grotesque artwork on the back, as well as the front here. The thing about this band is they mixed everything together. Funk, metal, avant-garde, noise, ska, I think a bit of surf rock. They just did it all. And if I'm not mistaken, after I show off the artwork here, I want to check and see, I think John Zorn, the saxophone player, might have produced this record. Yeah, it says on the bottom there, produced by John Zorn, which makes a lot of sense because John has done a lot of stuff in his career, similar sounding projects, just, you know, things that are playing with the rock formula but being, you know, very different and experimental. And I want to say the vocalist of Mr. Bungle, Mike Patton, even collaborated with him on numerous occasions for the Naked City and maybe other projects too. But this is their third album, California, and I don't really know what else to say. I think I've said everything of what I know about Mr. Bungle as far as just being experimental. And I expect this one to be a little bit more of the same, perhaps with the theme of California in mind. Seeing some of these tracks here. Goodbye Sober Day, Pink Cigarette, Sweet Charity. Yeah, I have no idea what to expect, but I know these guys get a lot of praise, and I'm excited to finally be able to listen to these and hear what the hubbub is about. The last CD I have for you today, I have Judas Priest's Painkiller. So, Judas Priest, legendary 80s band, 80s metal band. I really only knew their album, God, I can't even think of it, Screaming for Vengeance, which has their songs Electric Eye and You Got Another Thing Coming. I think it's safe to say that that album might be their most well-known. And then there's this one, which has the song, Painkiller, the title track, and it's just fucking insane. It's just so brutal, it's fast, it's crazy, and I love that song just because it's so different from what I had heard previously on Screaming for Vengeance. Like, if you heard You Got Another Thing Coming and this song, you'd be shocked to know that it's the same band, in my opinion. But we don't really get many copies of this album in. And again, the moment I saw it, I just had to snatch it. Because, you know, again, I like that Painkiller song, and I had to hear the rest of it. I had to hear if it's all sonically sounding the same. It's also a reissue, so it's got some bonus tracks, and it's also remastered. Oh, cool. Same there, too. Yeah, I'm really excited to listen to this. This is like one of those bands where you look at the cover, and it's trying to be wild and brutal for the sake of being wild and brutal. So this should be a really fun listen. All right, that concludes this episode of Quickies. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I'll catch you all next week.